Okay, welcome to 265 Certified Ethical Hacking. I want to welcome you to this class. Thanks again for listening to this recording. Okay, in the first unit here, we're going to discuss some basics of TCP/IP, basic elements of information security, and incident management, define some terms, and get going from there. Good. What else we got? Let's take a look here at the discussion. Why is the TCP/IP protocol suite an important one to be aware of, and how does it compare to the OSI model? Let's talk a minute about that one. So let me get a sheet of paper up. As you guys know, the OSI model is a 7-layer model, and it basically is application, presentation, transport, network, data link, and physical. Most authors will say that the TCP/IP protocol suite consists of 4 layers. Some say 5, some say 3. Cisco frequently uses a 5-layer model, and then other times they use a 3-layer model. But why is there this variation? Well, because the OSI model is an agreed upon standard, whereas the TCP/IP is a protocol. And what is a protocol? I consider a protocol to be something that computers use to communicate with, sort of like humans use language to communicate. So let's look at the layers of the TCP/IP protocol. Those are the physical layer. Doing them in reverse order here. The network layer and the transport layer, and then the application layer. Let me move that up a bit. Okay, there we go. So, generally speaking, the physical layer corresponds to the physical and data link layer. The networking layer corresponds to the network layer. The transport layer corresponds to the transport layer. And the application layer, I left one out, the session layer. The application layer corresponds to the application, presentation, and session layer of the OSI model. Now, a lot of times Cisco will add the data link layer in here too. But for our purposes this evening, let's just consider the 4-layer model. The 4-layer model is actually good when you do one of the common things with that you're asked to do as an IT consultant, and that is manage the or connect the disconnected clients. So let's put that activity in here. Connecting the disconnected client. So let's take a down-level client. I'll start up a virtual machine here in VMware. Okay. Let's say that we can't connect to the network. We can't connect to anything. So what would we do with this then? What would we do? Well, the first thing that we'll check then is the physical layer. And how do you check that? Well, you make sure that all the cables are plugged in and that the lights are on, everything's ready to go. So now we're going to move to the internet networking layer. And what we're going to do there is we're going to ping localhost. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now in our case it looks good, but what if we didn't get that? What would we do? Well, first thing would be restart the computer, because TCP/IP needs processes and threads going, just like Microsoft Word or any other app. So by restarting those, you reset those processes and threads that are used by TCP/IP. If it still doesn't work, then we're going to go ahead and go in here to the local area connection properties and make sure that TCP/IP is installed here and is enabled. If it wasn't installed, we could click Install Protocol and add, and would be in this following list. Since it's already in here, it doesn't show up there. And now the next thing we're going to do is check the transport layer. So we're going to ping the default gateway, and we find that by doing an IP config all. And you can see here's the default gateway. So let's go ahead and ping that. Okay, so that checks out. So we've checked the internet networking in the transport layer. Networking, ping localhost. Transport layer. Then we ping default gateway. And then we're going to actually ping a non-local DNS server. So in our case, I'll use Cloudflare. So that would be ping 1.1.1.1. And that works. So now we're ready to test the application layer. In order to do that, let's go to cnn.com. Make sure we're not looking at a cached version. Now this is a downloadable client, so it doesn't have all the Java and things enabled on it. So we'll probably just get a lot of these red X's indicating an image should go there. So, okay, they may not even load. So let's try Drudge Report, because that's mostly text. Okay, so is this a recent headline here? So yeah, I would say this looks like it's recent. So this is probably a non-cache version. So that we could test the application layer. We could use FTP, Telnet, but almost every device has a browser. So testing, checking the web access is also a good idea. So that'll do for a full check of the application layer. Okay, I'm going to continue this in part 2.